Hey guys, just doing a response video to CoffeeZilla's most recent video, and it's just for additional perspective. It's not necessarily that I disagree with Coffee in any way. I actually think his content is, um, it's a lot better than mine. We'll just go with that. And I don't even think that's subjective. Um, but yeah, it's just, not saying anything is right or wrong, but just trying to help everyone keep their emotions in check, I guess. So I start off right at the bat, right here at 215.
Don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity, or in this.
So well said. Let's do it again real quick. Like I said, his content is really good. I love it. I really do.
Don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity, or in this case, don't attribute to fraud what you can attribute to a polycule of 20-year-olds in the Bahamas getting in over their heads. That is basically what he wants you to believe. And so
Okay, so what he wants you to believe. So the perspective I want to bring on this is the connotation that he's some sort of genius mastermind. I already think starting off on that note is already just giving him a little bit more credit than he deserves. Um, if anything, I would say, he is still young. He is still wrapped up in, you know, emotions and romantic relationships and friendships and things of that nature. Um, which I believe he actually says. So it's kind of counterintuitive to the message that it seems like, which may or may not be intentional, um, that he's some evil genius mastermind. Now, if you go back here a little bit, he has a clip of Kevin, which it's rough because I've always followed and not always, but I have for a decent amount of time followed and respected Kevin. So it shakes my faith in Kevin a little bit.
vouch for him.
I just think he's a very interesting individual. Over time, we'll peel this onion, find out what happened. I don't think that guy has an evil bone in his body.
Now, it may not surprise you, but Kevin
I, and that's one of the reasons why I like him. It there's really no emotional extreme there. We got to take some time, peel back the onion, um, and whether he did the things maliciously or not, I want to be very clear that being young and dumb and negligent shouldn't save you in any way either. Like I 100% think that he should and hopefully will be, prosecuted at the full extent of the law. He gambled um, with billions of dollars. Now, the perspective that I'm trying to show on this, which is just kind of contrast to CoffeeZilla, which just seems a little kind of bullying and harpy, I guess is the words, with a lack of better way of articulating it. Because like I said, I love his content. It's very very thorough. I just like also getting kind of the message out there of a more moderate perspective, getting the emotions kind of out of it just for a little bit. I think that's just good to share in that a little bit. Um, I kind of just went off a tangent there. Where was I going? Let's just go to the next one I got here. Um, oh yeah, one of the other notes that I have here is, thankfully, I never trusted or just like intuitively liked FTX in any way. Um, but I certainly can relate to anyone that was directly impacted by all the stuff going on with Sam Bankman fraud and the bankruptcy and everything because I lost a lot in Voyager. Um, So bottom line is you got to get your emotions out of it, and any speculative investment that you make, period, first you have to vet yourself, and then also, you know, um, you have to be willing to part with that money 100%, 100% risk. Anytime you make a speculative investment, if you're not willing to lose it all, then don't make it. Next thing I got here is 255.
The only real question I have is why did it take us so long to find this out? Now, as I share the evidence that supports this claim, bear in mind compiling a complete postmortem on FTX is admittingly difficult. A paper shredder leaves behind better evidence than Sam Bankman fraud. Sorry, I mean Freed. Well, not freed for long. He's going to probably be in jail soon. But until that sweet day arrives, just understand that.
Great content. Um, uh, so so this is kind of leading on that what was the greatest con man in history from the ground up. He had all these uh, you know, opposite of corporate controls in place to perfectly, mastermind and cover his tracks. Uh, I just can't believe that, he's the evil genius, right? Again, a young, naive idiot wrapped up in what are they calling it? Polycom? Not Polycom, whatever the hell it was, where they're all basically banging each other down there in the Bahamas. um, like that's more believable to me than, a master genius, evil genius, right? But again, like I said earlier, negligence doesn't protect him from the law, or at least I hope it doesn't. He should still be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Um, I don't buy into the whole, he was an evil genius. And whether he is or not, I just think it's a good, perspective to share out there to kind of combat the emotional extremes that's going on right now.
Expenses with, quote, personalized emojis, and that Sam was communicating with disappearing messages that were set to auto-delete after, quote, a short period of time. Not only that, Sam encouraged employees.
He built the Snapchat of cryptocurrency. That is kind of
To do the same. So understand that we don't have a full picture of what happened yet, in part because, well, they deliberately avoided leaving one. And I would actually point to this as the first piece of evidence.
It's hard to argue. Very hard to argue.
Of fraud. You don't show up to the scene of a crime with billions missing and find out all the evidence is destroyed and say, oh darn, maybe they accidentally torched it. No, that in of itself is suspicious. And deleting your text messages and encouraging your employees to do the same, that just screams that you're hiding something. But even though they didn't leave us much to go on, there's still tons of breadcrumbs that lead us to the same conclusion. For example, take the corporate structure of FTX and all their subsidiaries. We've talked about this. It's incredibly complicated, but I'm supposed to believe that the guy who set this up is the same guy who didn't know it was wrong for him to take from one company and steal it. Isn't this the same guy who's...
So another perspective I'll have on that one real quick is I don't personally believe that it was malicious, negative, and a negative connotation to hide the material because they think they were doing something wrong. Maybe naive and dumb. We don't know what we're doing, so maybe it's best to get rid of everything. Again, should definitely be prosecuted full extent of the law, but it's just a different little perspective on it.
Parents are both compliance lawyers, sticklers for the rules. You're telling me that guy doesn't understand what basic fraud is? Incidentally, this is actually why Kevin O'Leary thought this was...
So another little perspective there. It's a little bit straying away from self accountability, so I feel a little bit of shame talking about this one. But did he have a good relationship with his parents? You know, if he didn't, then he may have been stuck in one of those kind of victim of circumstance mindsets and didn't know anything about compliance or didn't take it seriously, didn't think it was serious, and that would perfectly set him up to, as Coffee is explaining, build an absolutely like a horrid corporate control structure.
Such a safe bet.
I'm a paid spokesperson to FTX and a shareholder there too. And big advocate for Sam because he has two parents that are compliance lawyers. If there's ever a place I could be that I'm not going to get in trouble, it's going to be at FTX.
Yikes. And yet,
Yikes.
even after being defrauded, Kevin says given the chance, he'd bet on Sam again.
If SPF knocked on your door again and said, look, I failed in my last venture, I have a new crypto venture, I need money, would you back him?
That's a great question. No one's asked me yet. I think we can all admit, you can love him or hate him given what's happened, but he was one of the most brilliant traders in the crypto universe. He also built one of the most robust platforms. We used FTX actively. It was a very robust platform that allowed us to get information on a compliant basis. So I really like what he built.
Would you back him?
The answer would be yes.
Unbelievable. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's definitely unbelievable, especially if you followed Kevin for any reasons of investment education, just fundamental knowledge of investing. He was a great person to follow. So hearing something like that after what's going on is definitely concerning. Shakes my faith that I've had in Kevin and moving forward. But just another perspective to show on it, just to bring awareness to, would be, maybe he's talking from the position of, say, again, hopefully he gets prosecuted, he goes to jail, and he's coming back out with, uh, learning from his mistakes, a growth optimistic mindset, and he did create a great thing until the what is it, Warren Buffett says, until the tide the tide goes out and we find out who was swimming naked, right? But overall, that I just think that it's a better way to go through life, um, with the growth mindset, the optimism, you know, and not just jumping into the emotional extreme of, he's a malicious evil mastermind, right? That's a deep rabbit hole you can theory craft yourself into, as deep as you want it, as quick as you want it. So I don't know, I just think that's a good perspective to put on it, to bring awareness to, have a more abundance mentality around it, rich mentality around it. And yeah, that's my response to CoffeeZilla. Um, Maybe one day I can work to have content as good as his. Um, but I'm trying, and I hope you enjoyed this. And see you guys. Have a good one.